Hello, welcome back to Film ReVision, our second webisode. In this webisode, we're going to talk about Flashdance. Now, for those of you who don't know, Film ReVision is the video blog where we're going to be discussing 25 films from 25 years ago, 1983. So our guests today are Christopher Conway, graduate student from Brooklyn, New York, and also Kelly Jean Fitzsimmons, a writer, also from Brooklyn, New York, Williamsburg, if I'm correct.
Correct.
Now, I want to say what I just discovered not too long ago is none of us had ever seen Flashdance before having to watch it for this video blog. So this is going to be a very fresh perspective from a movie that we probably should have seen 20 years ago. Chris Conway, why don't you start?
By saying what I thought of the movie in general?
What do you think of Flashdance? We just watched it for the first time.
Right. I think I could wait another 25 years probably.
Anything else?
No, I mean, it was, in many ways, it was exactly what you would expect it to be of a movie of that sort of genre.
I don't think with any other movie in such a long time I've alternated between thoroughly enjoying it and just like, what the hell is going on? But I do now understand why my sister had like every single sweatshirt like off the shoulder and like, you know, cut out.
It's amazing. It's like, damn, this movie had like influence. And then I thought to myself, why? Like, what do people see in this film? I mean, really? I mean, like, it shouldn't have like some semblance of logic? I mean, like, shouldn't there be like a story? Like, there's so many things. Like, why did she do that? Chris wanted to recap. You wanted to?
I'm not sure if we're assuming that everybody who's watching this knows exactly what
Okay,
happened
well,
with Flashdance.
do it quickly.
And the basic story, right, is that this. What?
1 minute. Go.
1 minute. The basic
Less
story
than.
is that this girl from, I think, Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And she works as a construction worker.
She's a welder. What is she doing as a welder?
She's a welder by day.
Why is she a welder?
By day.
Because it's hot. Because it's hot.
That's insane to me. As soon as like the opening credits, there's this character with a mask on. Her name, it says Alex, so you figure it's a guy.
It's a man.
It's a huge
gotta be
red
a man,
herring
right?
by director
Yeah.
Adrian Lyne. And then it's all of a sudden, it flips it up and it's hot Jennifer Beals. And I'm like, are you effing kidding me? She's a welder.
Right, so she's a welder by day, and she's an exotic dancer by night.
So she's not. Is it exotic? Is it exotic?
Well,
She doesn't
it
strip.
certainly is.
It's
It
titillating.
certainly is fairly exotic. I mean,
but she doesn't.
She does not strip naked.
Right,
No.
and there's this whole part of the film where she's like bad strippers, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I had to wonder about that in general, because it's like they all had costumes and like sets and like all these little things, and like was that a thing ever at the time? And like when they all stood and watched the break dancing on the street, like I mean,
that
I
was,
just
that
like
was
what
never,
kind of.
That was never a thing.
And this brings us back to the logic of the film. Like it was Mobby's bar. Like it looked like this huge divey place.
Right.
But the production value of the numbers at Mobby's bar, whatever the bar was, were insane. I mean, they were spending like in the logic of the film, Mobby or whoever the guy was, the owner of the bar, must have been spending the hundreds of thousands of dollars on these like production numbers with like the water jumping on her and that crazy strobe light production number. It was just what?
Right.
I mean,
well, that goes sort of along with. I mean, when you describe the outline of the movie, which is, I mean, she is a construction worker by day, or a welder by day, a stripper by night, and she dreams of being a ballerina, or something, a legitimate
classical dancer. I don't know if it's ballet so much.
Right, it's probably not
overall
literally ballet. But you would think that this would be a movie that would in some way have something to do with sexism.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed the fact that sexism, it wasn't really a big part of it, or at least as the world of, at the steel mill or wherever she was welding things. And like even when she had the fight with the boss there, like, all the other workers were lined up and just sort of clapped for them when they got together. Like it just didn't fit in the story. I wasn't looking for that struggle.
It was really weird the moment when she took her bra off through her shirt and he was like all shocked. I've seen 100 girls do that.
Because of Flashdance.
She started that, yeah.
She started it.
It's so weird.
That is like the pinnacle.
I guess so.
And before 1983, women could not get their bras
They
off.
couldn't figure out.
We had to go to
that.
other rooms.
An 18-year-old girl.
Awful.
She broke the mold.
Now we know you can do it. I can do it right now.
Can we get a close look at this?
I don't have a bra on or I would do it.
Like the dances, were lit okay. I didn't think they were edited very well up until the very last one. I thought the last one
Really?
was really well constructed from an editing point of view, like the way that it edited, with the exception of, I would have recommended taking out all the cutaways to judge reactions.
Oh, yes.
I would have said, I mean, he also made them silly. Like they started like dancing, and I'm just like, that's ridiculous. But imagine if they had that really well edited sequence to, I think it's the theme, like the Irene Cara Flashdance song at that point. And the dance is pretty good. I thought that particular dance was choreographed well, and the editing is good, and it's all on her. And then dance over, cut to a judge, and just like maybe just a glimmer of a smile on a judge, just like a little start of a smirk. That would have been a really effective scene, but he blew it to me.
Every character, as they were introduced, it was almost groan-inducing. Oh, he also has a dream. So, here she is. Her dream is to be a dancer.
Also
and here's her friend, or is it her friend or her sister?
It's her friend.
Who dreams of being an ice dancer. And here's the cook in the back of the bar who dreams of telling Polak jokes in Hollywood. And it's ludicrous,
I think Chris, it's all part. We keep using words like ludicrous, silly, ridiculous, nonsense. Clearly, Joe Esserhaus, who we know to be a pretty smart guy.
Do we? Do we
I
really?
think so. Yeah. There's certainly.
He certainly managed to convince people to write him some big checks.
Okay, fine. All those goals that it achieved could have been done in the context of a logical good story. She didn't need to be a welder. Like, that's silly. She could have been working at a different dance place where she's discovered or whatever. She didn't have to date her boss. Like, all these things undercut the validity of the film, to me, and it's a shame to me, and that's why I think I'm being overly harsh with it, because it didn't need to be. Like, it's not like the concept of the film was off. The idea of a girl.
You don't think that anyone identified, though, with like a sort of unique blue-collar nature of a girl?
But I think there's a different way to do that. The fact that she's an 18-year-old, super hot welder that is also a dancer by night. Like, if she was a welder first and then discovered that she had this passion for dancing later and then made the transition, that's fine. But the fact that she's both at the same time was a hard pill for me to swallow.
I found it a little interesting that they just never explained her situation fully too. It bothered me at first, but like you had to figure out that Hannah wasn't related to her at all, and then what she just sort of like wandered away from her town at a certain age, and that she saved up enough money by 18 welding to like live for a couple years if she gets
She was welding when she was 15 or something.
Yeah. Apparently child labor in Pittsburgh.
And that's part of my point is, like, clearly narrative was not, a concern. Do you think it's an experimental film in that sense?
No, I thought it was like the action movie of like dance pop music. Like there was just all these big sort of I guess a thin narrative to string together these sort of music video type sequences. But then, like you said, they sort of almost got there by the end with then having sort of a really emotionally charged moment that definitely could have been utilized more throughout the film.
Well, it's frustrating for sure. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to say goodbye. This has been Film Revision. I'm Jonathan Betzler. I want to thank Kelly Jean and Chris Conway for coming with us to discuss Flashdance. Don't forget, Reel 13 is a cool thing on Channel 13 where they show classic films, short films, and indie films every Saturday night, and you choose the shorts on reel13.org. So go check that out. Reel 13 returns March 22nd with an adaptation of John Steinbeck's East of Eden with James Dean, directed by his Actors Studio friend Ilya Kazan, and a short chosen by you, and the indie film Imaginary Heroes. That's March 22nd on Channel 13 in New York. Thanks very much for tuning into Film Revision. I'm Jonathan Betzler, and next time we have the Mel Brooks film To Be or Not to Be. Thanks very much. We'll talk to you soon.